My name's Hutch, and I make videos and put them on the internet. And here's the thing, guys. I normally just do video game content on YouTube. Those of you guys that follow me on Twitter and on Twitch know that I am not shy about my interest in politics, and I'm not shy about my bias towards the Democratic Party. I decided kind of throughout the entire Trump term that I would keep this YouTube channel as mostly just being like a strictly gaming thing. Like some political stuff has sort of leaked into these videos here and there, but nothing has been like super overtly political as far as I can remember, besides making videos shortly after the 2016 election or something like that. I decided to forego that rule in favor of posting a political video today because we are one day before an election and I have a prediction that I want to make. But I do want to give you one disclaimer, and that is I am not basing my prediction on a gut feeling. I'm not basing it off of anecdotal evidence. I'm not basing it off of flawed data. I'm basing it off of polling data. Now that's going to trigger some of you guys in the chat. But Hutch, the 2016 election proved that polls are bullshit. No, that's not what happened in 2016. I'm going to give you guys a little brief rundown of what happened in 2016, and I'm going to preface it with something that's going to trigger a lot of you guys in the comments. And I'm going to say right now that the polling in 2016 was generally accurate. Let me say that again in case you guys missed what I had to say there. The polling in 2016 was generally accurate. Well, how could that be, Hutch? Huffington Post gave Hillary Clinton a 99% chance of winning. The New York Times gave Hillary Clinton a 90% chance of winning. That means polling is bullshit. No, polling is polling. Projections are projections. And anybody who is paying attention to the polling data, and I mean really paying attention, going into each swing state and taking a look at the aggregate polls and what those averages were saying, anybody that was doing that was nervous on election day. This was always going to be a close race. And pundits did get it wrong. And people that made projections based off snapshots of data that they saw were wrong. There were good reasons to predict that Hillary Clinton was going to win in 2016. And one thing that you have to concede when it comes to 2016 is that there were polls in key swing states, and specifically just in key swing states, that got it way off the mark. I'm talking about Wisconsin, that was off by like 7 points. I'm talking about North Carolina, that was off by like 10 points. I'm talking about Georgia, which was off, but it favored Hillary Clinton. She overperformed her polling average in Georgia. So what happened in 2016? Well, it was a wildly volatile race. You had things like WikiLeaks dumps of DNC files and Podesta emails. You had the Access Hollywood tape. You had two of the most historically unpopular presidential candidates of all time. You had James Comey announcing a reopening of an investigation into Hillary Clinton by the FBI 2 weeks before an election, where you saw Hillary Clinton's points, her polling averages dip by 2, 3, 4 points in the immediate aftermath of that. It was just a crazy, wildly volatile race, and they failed to take education into account when they were weighting their polls, which is something that the pollsters have since done. They were able to identify trends when it came to education levels in this country. If you have some college or a high school degree, you were way more likely to vote for Trump. If you had a college degree or a postgraduate's degree, you were way more likely to vote for Hillary Clinton. That was something that they didn't immediately know when they were doing their polls. They know that now. They've updated their methodology. Excuse me, I'm gonna burp. Now, for example, in 2018, the Democrats overperformed their polls. They picked up even more seats than they were projected to pick up in 2018 when they recaptured the House majority. So that is my preface. But when I'm about to show you guys, I made this intro just to sort of like stave off any "well, the fucking polls are bullshit" narratives that's inevitably going to show up in the comments. I've had this conversation so many times with different people that come into my stream and say the same thing, and it's simply not true. The polls these days have gotten a lot better than they were in 2016, and in order for Donald Trump to beat Joe Biden, the polls would have to be way worse than they were in 2016. In fact, if you break it down state by state, and you apply the same errors that were made in 2016 to 2020, that is to say, if you take 7 points off of Wisconsin or whatever, because it was 7 points behind in 2016, or if you take 2 points off in Florida, and on and on and on for every single state, Joe Biden would still win 353 electoral votes, according to 538. So that's my preface before you guys watch this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. You find it enlightening. If you do, leave a like. If you really like it, you can subscribe. And I'm sure many of you guys are going to leave colorful comments in the chat, which is going to be really fun to parse through. So sit back, kick your feet up, and enjoy.
All right, so for those of you that enjoy pain, boy, do I have a little painful exercise for you. Boom. We're going to mess around with this a little bit today. Okay, so what do we have here? These are solidly blue states. There's essentially zero chance that this is going to go red. We have solidly red states. There's essentially 0% chance that these are going to go blue. And as we see right out the gate, Biden has a pretty substantial lead when it comes to states that are solidly blue compared to states that are solidly red. This is a lot of ground that he's got to make up. He's already got a, 87 point deficit right here. So let's do this one first. Let's give Biden all of these lean blue states and see what happens. He's at 270 immediately, even if you give all these to Trump, which is very unlikely. So if it went this way, it would be 290 to 248, but I don't see that happening personally. Can you reset it? You can. You just go like that. Okay. So let's give Trump Pennsylvania. Let's give him Florida. Let's give him Texas. Let's give him Georgia. Let's give him Ohio. Let's give him North Carolina. And for good measure, let's give him Iowa and Maine too. He's still not at 270. So what else could we give him in this list right here? What if we give him Nebraska too? That's still not enough. We're not going to give him New Hampshire. We're not going to give him Nevada. Not going to give him Michigan. Not going to give him Wisconsin. Not going to give him Minnesota. We'll give him Arizona. There's a Trump win right there. But in order for Trump to win, he's got to really run the fucking table here, guys. He's really got to run this table. He's got to get Pennsylvania and Arizona. And if we look at Pennsylvania right here, Biden still has roughly a 5-point lead. And then in Arizona, Biden still has a roughly 3-point lead, if I'm not mistaken. Did I not look it up right here? It's about a 3-point lead right there. This is within the margin of error. Arizona is within the margin of error. That could technically go to Trump, but let's say it doesn't. Pennsylvania goes to Trump, then you have a narrowed Biden victory, 278. So what are some of the other possibilities here? Well, Texas and Florida are both toss-ups. What happens if you give both of those to Biden? You don't even need any of these states. All of these can go to Trump. Let's give him everything. Can I just do a select all? No, we'll just drag it over individually. All these states would go to Trump. If Biden gets Florida and Texas, that alone is enough to push him over 270. So let's give him actually just Florida and give Trump Texas. How does that affect Trump's ability to win this race? Okay, well, let's give him all of these. Let's say he runs the table on all of these. He's nowhere close to 270. He's nowhere close to 270. And what's the polling like in Florida right now? That's a great question, you ask. I don't know if I have it. There it is right there. In Florida, Biden has a narrow lead. Trump has gone down just a little bit in the last day, but this is a full-on toss-up. Biden's 1.5 point lead is well within the margin of error. This is a coin flip. Texas is almost just as close. Texas is a 1.8 point race right now. So both Florida and Texas are toss-ups. So let's give Biden Florida and let's give Trump Texas. He's got to run the table in North Carolina, Ohio, Georgia, Maine to Iowa, which means all of these polls need to be wrong. So Georgia right now is slightly favoring Biden, although that is a close race. It's a 1.6 point race. Iowa is slightly favoring Biden right now, but that is very close. So that's a genuine toss-up. What were the other states here? Georgia, Maine 2. Where's Maine 2? I know I pulled it up. Maine 2 right here. This is a slight edge to Biden. I mean, it's 3 points, 2.8 points. That's, you know, if you're Biden, you'd rather have his lead than Trump's deficit here. Ohio, I think Ohio is slightly favoring Trump, but it's like definite coin toss situation. Yeah, so that's a 1.8 point race right there. North Carolina, did I pull that one up? North Carolina right now is another super close race, but a little bit better for Biden than like Iowa and Ohio. What did we say that Iowa was again? Where is that? The fuck is Iowa? Slightly favors Biden, very slightly. That's a 0.4% difference in the polls right there. So if Biden takes Florida and Trump runs the table on all these battleground states right here, which I think is probably unlikely. Like, say for example, let's just give Biden North Carolina. Well, now how does Trump win here? Well, let's give him both Pennsylvania and Arizona. We can't give him New Hampshire. We just can't do that. Let's give him Nevada. Let's give him Nebraska too. I can't see giving him any of these states. I can't see him. I just can't see giving him. Fine, we'll give him Wisconsin. I mean, Michigan is. Where's Michigan? Right now, Biden's pretty comfortable in Wisconsin. And I think the same is true for Michigan right now. I think he's crushing in Michigan at the moment. Yeah, that is a pretty hefty lead. So the polls would have to be off by like way more than they were in 2016 for him to take Michigan. They would have to be really off. Did we already look at Minnesota? Minnesota is another really comfortable lead. So all three, Wisconsin, what are the states something over? Wisconsin and Michigan and Minnesota. These are all 8-point leads for Biden. So, okay, so yeah, I guess let's give him Wisconsin and let's give him Minnesota, and then he'd have to take Michigan as well, and then he gets to 278. So Florida is just so key to Biden's success here. Like Florida, it's Florida, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. Those are like the really big races to look out for. Because even though they're lean blue, these aren't as lean blue as these other states right here. Like all these other states right here are pretty safe for Biden. So let's just give him all these states right here. I think it's safe to say there's a very decent chance, almost 100% chance that Biden's going to win all these states. He's already at 259. This motherfucker Biden is already at 259. He just needs literally one state. Okay, so let's take Arizona back. Where did it go? Let's take it back and put it down here. Pennsylvania gets him over the edge as well. Texas obviously gets him over the edge as well. Ohio gets him over the edge. North Carolina gets him over the edge. Not Maine 2, I don't think. Maine 2 does not get him over the edge. Iowa does not get him over the edge. Georgia gets him over the edge. So I think like this is realistically what we're looking at here. Like this is going to be the starting score on election night, and Trump essentially just needs to run the table. So let's say the polls are just like crazy wrong. If the polls are crazy wrong, then it is possible that Trump could literally win all of these states. And then once he does, it barely gets him over. But again, he has to win every single one of those states. And if Biden wins Florida, now all of a sudden his path is so fucking narrow. So like he's got to win all these. Did I already do this? Got to win all these. And then he's got to win, like where do these come from? It would come from Pennsylvania and Arizona. Give him Nebraska too. I mean, what's the polling like in Nebraska too right now? Nebraska's second. So yeah, Biden's already up by 6 points there. It's not like a super important state. But if Trump takes Florida and then runs a table, ooh, that's scary. I don't like that. How do I reset it? There we go. What if Biden wins Texas but loses Florida? Well, Michigan, I think it's pretty safe blue. Minnesota, I think, is really safe blue, and he's already there. Wisconsin's pretty safe blue. Nevada is fairly safe blue. New Hampshire's pretty safe. And then let's just give Trump everything else. Then you got that. Not exactly like a super landslide, but it's a comfortable win. I think the polls that really got it wrong in battleground states were on average like 5 points off the mark. Maybe you might be right about Wisconsin. I think you might be right about Wisconsin. Wisconsin was I think wildly off the mark. So like RCP Trump versus Hillary, Wisconsin. So the actual results were Trump plus 07. Yeah, so the polling averages were actually 7.2 points off the mark in Wisconsin. Yikes. But if that polling error persists in 2016, as of right now, Biden still has enough to overcome that polling error. If Trump was 7.2 points higher in the race, then he'd be looking still at am I reading this right? Yeah, so there's a difference right now of, I can't do math right now, guys. 6.8 points plus 1.7, so 8.5. There's an 8.5 point difference right now. So if we have the same error, which I highly doubt that's going to happen. Oh, it actually says it right there. I'm an idiot. Then Biden still wins. That's why, guys, like if we figure out on election night that Biden won Florida, if they're able to call it, or I call it a long shot, but these are like statistically, both of these are toss-ups at this point, Texas and Florida. If lean Trump, they're still toss-ups. But if we find out on election night that Biden won Florida or Biden won Texas, that's literally it. We can go to bed. I don't understand the people that are saying like there's no way that Texas is going blue. Look at this. Like, is it your position that the data is just completely bullshit? Like, are you just saying, I understand that after 2016, it's like the cool thing to say that polls are bullshit. They're going to get everything wrong. But is that what you're saying? That kind of sounds like what you're saying. It's already a purple state. This is like a firmly purple state. New York Times, Siena poll, North Carolina, likely voters. This is the last New York Times Siena poll out of North Carolina, and they have Biden up by 3. North Carolina U.S. Senate likely voters, Kyle Cunningham, the Democratic challenger to Tom Tillis, is up 3 points as well. So a 3-point lead for Democrats in both races in North Carolina. So, I mean, how does that affect the race? So, like, what if we just give Biden North Carolina right away? And then what if we give him Florida and Texas? And, I mean, all these. What if we just give him all these? I mean, actually, fucking North Carolina is pretty fucking important too, man. How many electoral points is that? It's 15 points. I didn't realize North Carolina was that big. If we don't see Texas blue this year, I'd be willing to put money down that it will be blue in 2024, bar any presidential national anomalies. I don't know. I don't know if I would be that cocky, because it could just be that that hatred of Trump is motivating people to turn out. And if the Republicans don't have a villain quite like Trump, quite as detestable as Trump, then Texas might be a much more difficult state for Democrats to pick up. But right now, there's just, I mean, Trump is very much disliked. He's a very polarizing character. He's the kind of figure that provokes a ton of turnout in these kinds of elections. Let's fuck around a little bit more. So, like, what happens if we out of all these, we just give Biden Iowa? And then let's say we give him all of these. Is that enough? It is. Wow. Huh. How do I reset it without, do I just refresh? Yeah. How many points is Iowa? It's only fucking 6 points. What? So, all right. So he just gets Iowa. And then we'll give Biden, because these are pretty safe right now, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. We'll give him New Hampshire. We'll give him Nevada. And we'll give him Nebraska too, right? Like, what was his Yeah, we'll give him Nebraska too. He's up 6 points in Nebraska too. So 265 right there. Trump would then need to, if Biden wins Iowa, Trump would then need to win Texas, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania. That's not like, this is a really tough path for Trump. Like this is, we'll give Biden Maine too. Why not? Let's just look at like, what is this race going to look at if the polls are exactly correct? So Texas would go to Trump, Florida would go to Biden, Georgia would go to Biden, Ohio would go to Trump, North Carolina would go to Biden, Maine would go to Biden, Iowa would go to Biden. So North Carolina goes to Biden, Maine would go to Biden. Did I just say Iowa? Yeah, Iowa would go to Biden. Arizona would go to Biden. Pennsylvania would go to Biden. Minnesota, all this would go to Biden. If the polls are correct, we are looking at a fucking massacre. This is a massacre. 304 to 227. And if the polls are all correct, this is what we're looking at here. That is a fucking massacre.